Every sport is filled with dominant players, and hockey is no exception. So today, we'll take a look at 5 of some of the most dominant hockey players ever from a bunch of different leagues. These are in no particular order, so let's go. First up, we have Wayne Gretzky, and we're not talking about his NHL dominance this time. Although he is the NHL all-time leader in goals, assists, and points, he was even more dominant in his Atom days. Back in 1970, Wayne started his Atom career and scored 104 goals and 63 assists for 167 total points in only 62 games. His best season in Atom, though, was his last year. The 1972 season, Wayne Gretzky scored an unbelievable 378 goals and 139 assists for 517 points in only 85 games, so he averaged almost 4.5 goals a game and 6 points per game. With these stats, it's very safe to assume that Gretzky's Atom team won every single game that season and is probably the most dominant Atom team ever. Next up, we have the 15-year-old women's player who's dominating the men's league over in Slovakia, Nela Lopusanova. Lopusanova played in the women's league in Slovakia in 2022 and tore it up with 25 goals, 15 assists, and 40 total points in only 6 games, which means she was scoring 4 goals a game. She then went over to the men's U16 league the year after and still tore it up with 24 goals and 56 total points in 19 games. These are very similar stats to what the 2022 NHL first overall pick Yuri Slafkovsky put up when he played in that league. She then went back to the women's league and still dominated with 28 goals and 49 points in just 8 games. If nothing goes wrong, Nela Lopusanova will probably go down as the greatest women's player of all time, and some think she even has a chance to make the NHL. Next up, we have Peter Forsberg, but not for his NHL career, but his performance in the 1993 World Juniors for Team Sweden. In the 7 games of the tournament, Forsberg scored 7 goals and 24 assists for 31 total points, which is the most points ever by a player in a single World Juniors tournament. Sweden lost in the gold medal game to Canada, but Forsberg still had the best tournament ever. The closest player to him in points in a single tournament was his teammate in 1993, Marcus Naslund, who scored only 24. In one game against Japan, Sweden absolutely obliterated them 20-1, and Forsberg had 10 points and a hat trick in that one game. Next up, we have probably the biggest what-if player in NHL history, Vladislav Tretiak. There have been a lot of dominant goalies in hockey, but none more than Tretiak. Tretiak's best performance was in the 1983 World Championships for the Soviet Union, as he put up an unbelievable .972 save percentage and a 0.57 goals against average. Tretiak was actually NHL drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, but he never got to play in the NHL because the Soviet Union Ice Hockey Federation refused to grant his release. Tretiak won an insane 10 gold medals at the World Championships, which lands him tied for the most gold medals, and he's also tied for the most total medals in the World Championships. Tretiak easily would have become a top 5 NHL goalie of all time, and it's really disappointing that he never got to play in the NHL. Last but not least, we have probably the most dominant professional hockey player of all time, Tony Hand. Similar to Tretiak, Tony Hand is also a pretty big what-if, and was the 252nd overall pick by the Edmonton Oilers in 1986. He went to the Oilers training camp and absolutely tore it up. He then played 3 games in the WHL for the Cougars and scored 4 goals and 4 assists, but eventually got homesick and went back to Scotland. He played the majority of his professional career in the VHL and was just a human cheat code. In the 1989 season, Tony Hand played in just 35 games and scored 86 goals, 126 assists, and 212 total points. That is 3 less points than Gretzky's NHL career high, with almost 50 less games. He would continue to dominate the BHL, scoring around 150 points a season, with only about 35 games a season. In 1994, though, he would bring his point production to a whole new level and set a new career high in points, with 72 goals and 150 assists for 222 total points. After that, he would play one more season in the BHL, scoring 207 points, then jump around a few leagues and dominate, but not as much as before. It's a shame that he never got to play an NHL game, because it would be interesting to see if his dominance would carry over at least a little bit. And that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below which one of these players you think is the most dominant. But yeah, that's the video, and I'll see you guys next time.